of psychological safety, trust, and power within a team dynamic. And a reason for the topic coming up is I'm actually preparing for a group training session later in the week. And as I was going through, I thought it might be some useful tidbits for the rest of you as well. So, first, although I listed them psychological safety, trust, and power, I first wanted to talk about trust in a really high level way. Trust is between two people, right? um, you give and receive trust, right? So both people have it, but it is a one on one relationship. And the reason I point that out is psychological safety is essentially team trust. It's everyone in that team actually feeling like it's safe for them to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, to show up and not know the answers and that kind of thing. So here's the rub, right? If you don't have one-on-one trust with you and whomever else is on the team, then ultimately you can't have psychological safety within that team in itself. And so there's been recent studies done by Google that talk literally about psychological safety is actually even more important than having a diverse team. So they did a team of like all introverts and all extroverts, and still psychological safety was more important. And so that meant that in order for the team to have that, like each of the individual members needed to trust one another. And then as a collective, they needed to trust. So why am I bringing up this idea of power? Well, power actually can throw a bit of a monkey wrench in sort of a team dynamic. So if you think about what if you have a team and within that team, you're the leader, right? So there's already unsaid hierarchy, right? Or positional power that you can have there. So what if that team has psychological safety right amongst themselves, and then you blop a big piece of power differential in there in the middle? And that's why I'm bringing it up, right? So I really work a lot with new managers or managers that are transitioning from very, very technical roles to very, very people centric roles, and it's not really things that we talk about or things that are shared with people who have had a STEM related career, right? We learn about bits and bytes and math and all of the like how to make all the binary stuff work. Well, relationships aren't really a binary topics. And so when we're talking about power, if you come into a team situation and you do happen to have positional authority, then what can you do to both maintain one on one trust with the individuals, allow there to still continue to be psychological safety, and sort of downplay or not like enact your power in a way that can be detrimental to the psychological safety of the team. So I have a couple tips. Take what you will, don't what you don't need. But the first is this idea of vulnerable sharing. And so if you come in as a leader of that team, one way to sort of build safety for them is sort of model the behavior that you want to see. So very often, I'll start out with giving some kind of vulnerable story, or in time, or where it makes sense to give a vulnerable story. So if I made a mistake in the past, right, I would talk about that mistake and how I learned something from it, or I would talk about the mistake as an opportunity to learn. Whatever the topic was, I would like point out where it was hard for me or difficult for me, and basically just to show I'm a human, and that if it was okay for me to make mistakes, it's certainly okay for them to make mistakes. And the other two things that I think are really important to pay attention to. One will make sense, the other one might not be something you've heard before. But if you have all the power, or if you come in with some perceived power or positional power, talk less, listen more, right? I would say the amount you use your ears goes up like but astronomically and exponentially as you go up in your career. The more you move up the ladder, the more you need to listen to all of the other specialized expertise of other people, and then take that, disseminate it, make some sense out of it, and make decisions upon it. So if you have a power differential, it makes more sense to not always be the one who shares the opinion first. Like, let others have an opportunity to share an opinion. And if they share one that you would have agreed with, make sure that you point out, like, oh, I love that. I think that's a great idea. If someone shares your opinion, then you don't have to. There's no reason to like be in there. Yeah, you're right. I think you're smart. That's what I would thought too. The other is, so maybe it's not talk too much, right? But there is something to be said about not talking at all. Ever hear someone say like that her silence was deafening, right? Like if you don't talk, if you sit there and look maybe disengaged, disinterested, even if you're highly engaged and highly interested, they're going to be assuming maybe that you're judging them. They're going to be assuming that you're disengaged, they're going to be assuming you're bored, assuming you're tired, whatever that is. So I would err on the side of eliminating the possibility of assuming, and tell them what to think, right? So you can say, "Hey, I know I've been quiet for a while. This really interesting topic. I'm just really engaged." Right? So just give them some cues to fill in the stories that they're making up in their head, so that they're filled with stories that you want them to have. Or you could say, "Oh, this is a lot of information. Thank you so much for sharing. I hope you don't consider my silence to be anything other than just active listening." Or you can also make little breaks where you pop in and paraphrase. So you say, "So what I hear you saying is that this and this and this are possible ideas. What do you think?" And they could say, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking." It's like, "Okay, thanks." And like let them kind of go on. So I think it's super important, and other people as well think that it's important, that if you're in a team dynamic and you have a power differential, that you're very, very considerate, or pay special attention to what your ears are doing and what your mouth is doing, and making sure that there isn't like space to be filled with letting them think about what you must be thinking, but really let them know what you're thinking, and show up in a way and model the behavior in a way that you would like them to also model for you. So that's all for today, folks. I really would be interested in what you think about the power differential, ways that you feel you can engage and make sure that the team still feels psychological safety. And if you have any topics or thoughts around trust as well. All right. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.